Hi, I'm Chauncey McIntosh, Vice President and General Manager for Lockheed Martin's Training and Logistics Solutions. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I want to have a dialogue today about a topic that's very near and dear to me, and that's really how we're partnering with our customers and really looking how do we accelerate training and simulation technology. I recognize, and we at Lockheed Martin recognize that the way we train our military has to be different now. And we need to prepare our military personnel for proficiency in joint all-domain operations and the ability to react very quickly to this ever-changing threat. So our conversation today is going to focus on how we can take a critical capability for our national defense, and that is distributed mission training. Distributed mission training is an advanced form of networking collective training systems together. It allows for personnel that can be in different locations connected to whether it be a real platform or simulated platform, and really ensuring that we can engage in a joint all-domain type training session. And we know that that's critical, that pilots can train into these kind of environments, and whether that be a pilot, ground forces, air forces, land, but really to connect in one common synthetic battle space. You can almost think of it like a multiplayer game, and some of us have those at home. I think the only difference here is, unlike having a video controller, you're really talking about state-of-the-art simulators and simulation, and really how that can change the game when you're looking at developing tactics, mission rehearsal, and really coming out with critical cross-platform type missions. For this, interoperability is key, and it's going to enable our military men and women to really train with other platforms in very realistic scenarios. And that's really having, real-time command and control. I think the last thing I'll share about distributed mission training before we jump in is that this capability can really solve today's operational issues. I recognize that in many places in our militaries that we've got very limited range capability, and the fact that we may not have every type of threat on our range. With distributed mission training, it allows you to really overcome some of those obstacles, plus the additional bonuses of saving money on things like fuel and the deployment of troops to maybe a central operation or central location so that they can do an operation together. For me, this is really all about how do we maximize 21st century warfighting and really preparing for the evolving threats of the future. I'd like to invite Vic Turlo to this dialogue, and Vic Turlo is our Director for Business Development for Training and Sustainment here at Lockheed Martin. And Vic's been working on some really interesting technology that I'd like for him to elaborate on with a very specific customer. And so, Vic, welcome to the dialogue. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Chauncey. And hey, thanks for having me. This is a topic that I have a lot of passion for, along with the rest of the Lockheed Martin team. So I want to give you a great example and talk about a program that we have with the Australian Defence Force, right? They refer to it as their core simulation capability, otherwise known as their JP, Joint Program 9711. So what we're doing on this program is Lockheed Martin is offering them a capability where they're going to be able to link the synthetic environments behind their land, maritime, and flight, simulators that are out there today. Let me give you an example of how this could work. So on the JP 9711 program, they can actually have a land vehicle out on a live digital range interacting with a virtual F-35 and ultimately getting constructive synthetic environment inputs from, let's say, a maritime vessel. So really bringing those multi-domain operations together.
That's very interesting, Vic. I'm glad you brought up the fact that what you're doing for JP 9711 and the Australian Defence Force and how that's allowing them to go across all of these domains to really enhance their training capability. And we know that's critical. So can you tell me a little bit more of, how is that contributing to mission readiness for the Australian Defence Force?
Yeah, I tell you, one of the other great things about this program, Chauncey, is it's going to allow them to interoperate with their coalition partners. So think about, regionalized training scenarios out in the Pacific Rim, and also opportunities for Australia to eventually, network and operate with the U.S. and other allied forces. So a great capability. We're excited to deliver it to the Australian Defence Force, and it's really a great capability that Lockheed Martin Australia is providing to them.
Yeah, I know that's critical, right? The ability to not only increase their mission readiness, but the ability to network and work across with other services, as well as inter-service between different nations, as you say, whether it's NATO or with the United States. So I think that's critical. So I think it's also awesome that our Australian team and what they're doing and partnering with the Australian Defence Force. So Vic, I really appreciate you sharing a little bit about this JP 9711 program and the capabilities it's bringing. You and the team should be very proud of this partnership that you formed with the Australian Defence Force. So I want to change gears a little bit in this dialogue and go to another program that I find near and dear to me, and that is the F-35 program. And who better to bring to this discussion than my teammate, Todd Tells Canterbury, retired general and former commander of the United States Air Force's 56th Fighter Wing. So Tell, welcome to the dialogue. How are you doing?
Hi, Chauncey. Thanks for the opportunity. Doing great out here in Arizona.
So tell us, you got a very extensive background. You have contributed to training and supporting training of hundreds of pilots throughout your career. And the fact you're a pilot yourself and you've flown the F-35. So can you tell me really what does simulation and the training that you get in a simulator mean to you and to the pilot community?
Well, sure. Thanks, Chauncey. When I first started flying the airplane in 2013, simulators are absolutely critical. Remember, there's no two-seat versions of the F-35. So the first time that I took this airplane airborne was by myself, and it was the simulator that prepared me. It gave me the normal operating procedures as well as tested me through the crucible of emergency operating procedures so that I was ready to face absolutely anything out there. The high fidelity of simulators that we produce are critical to finding efficiencies and helping the Air Force today. One example I'll give you is that very first sortie when I was at Eglin Air Force Base. The Air Force decided that our first sortie was just going to be a taxi sortie. We were going to start this beautiful airplane up, we're going to taxi to the end of the runway and taxi back. Entirely underwhelming for a pilot who's put so much time and effort into training for this. So because of the high fidelity and the level of complexity of the simulators, that every single pilot we sent out to the runway was ready to go. We convinced the Air Force that we no longer need that sortie, that we can just take off on the first time as long as that jet's ready to go. And the Air Force has found efficiencies, and we've been doing that ever since. So you can see that these simulators are a fantastic training environment for our folks.
Yeah, that's an awesome story, Tells. I'm glad you shared that. I can imagine, taxiing in and taxiing back, and now through the simulator being able to overcome that and take off directly on that first flight. That's an amazing story. So now that you've been going through training and as stated earlier, right, you've trained hundreds of folks. What is the feedback that you're hearing once individuals go through this program, they learn to fly using the simulators and the F-35 full mission simulator? What's been the feedback from the pilot community?
Oh, thanks, Chauncey. We're getting great feedback from the users. Every single pilot that we've trained is well prepared to take flight for that very first time. Additionally, the growth of the mission capability of F-35 is placing more and more emphasis on the F-35 simulator. As you alluded to earlier, our nation simply doesn't have the complex airspace, the volume, the depth, or the speed allowances for us to really go wring the F-35 out, and so the pilots have to do it in the simulator. Additionally, there are some tactics, techniques, and procedures and some capabilities that we may not want to showcase in open air environments. So these pilots all have to come together in a collective environment in a safe space of the simulators where they can practice all those tactics, techniques, and procedures to be the absolute cutting edge. And that's what our sims enable us to do.
Yeah, I agree, particularly when you talk about not letting our adversaries see everything that we do and the simulators that can provide that training and allow for us to keep some things close hold to ourselves. One of the things that we've been talking about, Tells, is distributed mission training. And I know that's a journey that the F-35 has been on as well. Can you provide a little bit about F-35 and distributed mission training and what's taking place today?
This is an exciting arena. Distributed mission training is the future of the F-35 simulation environment. This is where we will bring together the disparate elements of a battle force and let them fight in one single battle space. So we'll bring F-35s in with fourth and fifth generation airplanes from other locations and allow them to practice those tactics, techniques, and procedures. We know that we're not going to fight alone as an F-35 single fighting force. So we've got to find out and work from the same playbook that everybody else is doing it. And distributed mission training is the way that we're going to do that. We're very excited as the Air Force was the first to roll out this capability at Nellis. The Navy and the Marine Corps will follow soon thereafter, and then we'll bring this to the international force. So this will truly enable a global F-35 fighting force that all fight off the same playbook and are ready for that next generation warfare.
Wow, that's awesome, Tels. I'm glad to see that the Air Force has that capability, and very soon after, the rest of our services in the F-35 community will also have that capability. So that's amazing. And I think you said something earlier that is just key, right, in this platform, that there is no two seats. So it's imperative that we provide that more train like you fight kind of environment. So that's awesome. Thanks, Tels. I really appreciate you joining me today.
Well, thanks, Johnson. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm a firm believer in it, and I love what we do.
Hey, so I want to end by first thanking both Tels and Vic for sharing. I think they've shared some very unique dynamics that distributed mission training, whether the JP9711 program and what we're doing for the Australian Defence Force, or if you look at distributed mission training and how the F-35 is taking advantage of that capability. As you can tell, there's a lot of exciting work taking place here at Lockheed Martin. And I'm just thrilled that we had the opportunity to talk about a few of those elements today. And I can't wait to share more with this community soon. You know, whether it's connecting warfighters to distributed mission training, or expertly training integrated training systems, or delivering on outcome-based solutions for our customers. Our Lockheed Martin team is focused, and that's really focused on delivering to our customers' very specific needs. So I want to say thank you again for joining me in this broadcast today. And why don't you stay tuned for a brief look at how the F-35 distributed mission training takes place in action.